Welcome back to FreightWaves Now. We've got our last live guest of the day. We've got Rob Tasker, and he works at Trig, and we're talking all about keeping a little bit more safety on the rails. Rob, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Rob. Tell us a little bit about Trig and what is going on there.
Well, Transrail Innovation Group, as we're called, we make technology for rail cars, and we're actually uniquely certified to do that across North America. It makes rail transportation of things like crude by rail more efficient and safer. So our technology is made up of one of our main products is a radar technology, which can see inside tank cars without opening the car. And we also are working on increasing the telematics across the rail car to be able to monitor the status of a rail car.
So let's talk a little bit about the crude versus pipeline when it comes to transporting oil,
Yes.
or the rail versus pipeline, that is, sorry, when it comes to transporting oil across the United States. Of course, we hear a lot about pushback for pipelines because they're not safe. They're running through these lands that are protected. But really, what is the difference when it comes to which one is better?
Well, that's a pretty contentious view, depending on where you're coming from. Obviously, we view rail as being a very viable way of shipping crude oil. Obviously, a pipeline only goes from A to B. You can't change the location, whereas rail can really go anywhere across North America. Actually, the economics are fairly close between pipeline and rail when you consider all the factors. And one of the factors, for example, for a lot of crude oil coming from Canada down to the Gulf, is you often have to dilute crude oil in order to transport it in a pipeline, and that gives you a 30% tax, I guess, in terms of diluent you have to add to the product in order to transport it. You don't have to do that on rail, as an example.
Oh, so you have to dilute it in order to get it fluid enough to flow through that pipeline to do that. That's something I never knew. That's quite interesting. Let's talk about the efficiencies that are there between the two and the technology that you guys are producing there. What is the technology that's going on? And because it's a tank car, you throw some oil in it, and you send it down to the port. Technology. Well, you need a hose. Let's talk about this a little bit because it's quite interesting.
That's what a lot of people just use, and there is a lot of old technology out there. And
sure.
And there's a real safety issue that you have to be concerned with that technology.
Yeah.
One of the key things that our technology offers is the ability to fill a tank car to capacity without opening the car. It's really, you're looking for a closed loop system from end to end, because there's toxic materials in there, just the time and efficiency of opening a car. And what they do is right now is they dip the car with a dipstick in order to see the residual product inside there. And because they don't know the residual product inside the car, they usually underfill cars. In fact, they pretty much always underfill tank cars. And by using our technology, our radar technology, one, you can keep the car closed, and you can do it faster and more safely, but also you can put more product in every single car.
So let's talk about the capital cost that saves you to do that, right? Because if you're showing up at a transloading facility and you're like, I'm expecting this much volume, or you're moving this from point A to point B, but your cars are only filled to 40% to 60%, that's kind of a waste of space, right? And it's a waste of that time to move that if you're not going to utilize the full space of your car. So how does that Trig technology kind of save money, I guess, by giving the ability to completely fill these with visibility?
Yeah. Well, to be clear, they don't fill to 40, 60%. That's pretty low. I think that's they fill to about 92 to 95%. And so we can put another about 5% in every single car, which really reduces your transportation costs by exactly that amount, by 5%, which is huge in the industry in terms of the margins they're dealing with. So what we do is we have a radar technology which mounts on the car. And it can monitor the fill of the product as it comes up, and to make sure that basically not only that you can see inside the car without opening the car, but also that you can basically stop where you need to. And right now they don't really have that visibility inside the car, so they have to stop filling earlier and put less in the car.
That is really interesting stuff. So what you're saying is when they do it normally, the way it's done, pretty much now, a dipstick, they don't fill it up all the way because they're feared of it spilling over and having a hazmat spill, an environmental incident. So they underfill it, which is not utilizing all the stuff, and it's slower because you got to open up the car. You can't do it. What does all this mean? How does this affect Alberta and Canada and the United States? Talk about how this how that interaction occurs.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed in this industry with rail is kind of a secondary option to pipelines. The pipelines are well understood about how you put product onto pipelines and how it's managed, and it's well understood within the industry. Whereas rail is, we don't have enough capacity. We've got to get rail operations going. So that's really the main issue is the unpreparedness in many ways for using rail, and therefore the technology is often not the most modern technology. There's a lot of inefficient processes, a lot of manual processes, and rail is unfortunately as notorious across North America for being a bit of a black hole within the supply chain, because there's such limited visibility for rail versus other means of transportation. And so that's a big issue for supply chains, and something we're trying to improve is the visibility of product inside rail in the supply chain. And so really making it more palatable and more, advantageous to use rail as a transportation means for any petroleum products.
Rob, so talk to us a little bit about who your partners are that are partnering with this technology. Is it the crude providers? Is it the intermodal drop-off places? Is it the individual rail lines? Tell us about that.
A lot of work that we're doing today, it's both the terminal operators which are transloading operators and shippers. They are sometimes they're the same player, sometimes they're different players. But a lot of the value can be achieved during the transloading process, and that is often a different player than the shipper themselves. So they depend on third parties to do the transloading. And so we have a product that basically stays in the terminal and mounts temporarily on every single tank car as it's being filled in order to maximize the capacity. We also have technology that mounts permanently on tank cars for shippers who don't necessarily have one place where they're transloading, but they want to put more product in every single one of their cars because it makes their transportation obviously cheaper by doing so. And so we have two products of that nature, that one stays in the terminal and one that mounts permanently on the tank cars.
Excellent stuff. Rob, thank you so much for coming on. I've learned a few things. I'm sure our audience has learned a few things that are going on. Where do people go to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing there?
Well, our website is transrailinnovation.com, and you can learn all about our technology on that website.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us again. Have a great rest of your day.